Welcome everyone to the first installment of Replay Rush, where we bring you exciting matchups from some of the best players in StarCraft II. This week's replay match is a quarterfinals Zerg versus Terran from the OlimoLeague number 206. Spawning in the top left of Romanticide LE is our blue Terran for Brave Star Gaming. This is Dream. And spawning into the bottom right with the quick spawning pool is our red Zerg player playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is Dark. Already making this series an interesting one as he opens up with the quick spawning pool. Now, that doesn't surprise me necessarily, looking at the matchup here between Dark and Dream. This tends to be a very one-sided matchup, maybe is the right word. Dark being a very strong S-tier player, going up against a blue Terran like Dream, who has a very strong win rate and path against Zerg, but maybe playing one class down compared to his opponent. Dream, however, a very good player, and could confidently swat this off if he gets good scouting and takes care of business here. Dark going for a very, very deliberate opening here, pulling exactly as much gas as he needs to get into his spawning pool, but already has those lings in production out on the map. Now, Dark is going to take an opportunity here. It appears he is going to set up for another base, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So, Dark is in a position where he does not have to completely all in on this. If he wants to pivot and transition out, he absolutely can. He's in a position where he's not going to overcommit, and he's going to set himself up for success. But right now, Dream knows that something is up. But what he hasn't seen yet are these Zerglings up on the top side of the map. So it feels as if right now, Dream is sensing that, okay, these Zerglings are incoming, and I do have a Reaper, so this Reaper can easily come down and deal with those Zerglings, but they aren't going to be able to deal with the Zerglings coming into the natural base. And right as Speed finishes here, he dashes on up, gonna try and get on top of the last remaining bastions of hope here, but unfortunately, Dark is going to be too swarmy for this Terran player. GG is called, and Dark taking game number 1 in this best of 3 series. We find ourselves on Light Shade for map number 2 in this best of 3 between Dream and Dark, and it'll be interesting to see how game number 2 shapes up for both players. Dark taking a very aggressive turn here in map number 1 against his opponent in blue, maybe flexing a little bit of that power disparity between the two players. It's not uncommon to see in some of these best of 3 matchups one player that either is or perceives themselves to be a step up over their opponent to pull out a little bit of cheese, getting themselves maybe a quick 1-0 advantage in their series and kind of flexing on their opponent a little bit. And it feels exactly what Dark has done here. It's definitely something that isn't outside of his character as well. Dark, the brazen Zerg player. He's very outspoken, very quick to have some sharp comments about players that he's either facing in the GSL or playing in different events. And definitely Dark has done a good job of earning the right to be that type of personality. Being a BlizzCon champion, multiple trips to the GSL finals. He's a successful Zerg player that has earned the right to be one of the boldest players in the StarCraft II Korean scene. But now we see both players opening up with a bit more of a macro touch on both sides of the map, and Dream is kind of taking a gamble here. Has not taken the opportunity to scout anything over on the opposite side of the map. So that is a gamble that is going to pay off for him, as Dark has decided to open very quietly, getting a nice macro opening. The Reaper's going to go over and do normal affair for our blue Terran player. but we will have to see how both of these players want to open up in this game number 2 situation. Getting the second gas here for Dream, not playing overly cautious, taking just a normal economic timing, getting into that factory tech as well. I wonder what kind of impact this game number 2 will have on the overall series, given that the first game started so aggressively between these two players. Dark just choosing to get into a third base here, taking it at its rather normal timing. And Dream is just going to poke on forward with this Reaper, trying to keep everything contained, getting a little bit of that information to send back home to prepare accordingly. Now, Dark's not going to be content with this. He is going to send those 4 Zerglings out onto the map, which is quite interesting here. Dream could easily try and jump on in, and without the Zerglings in position, he could easily harass these mineral lines. He's gotten a little bit of harassment done as it sits so far, but Dark doing a nice job of zoning with the Creep Queens. So a couple of Hellions will be added into the mix here to try and shake things up and heat things up for his opponent. Now, a Fusion Core is going to be coming down for Dream. So aggression is the name of the game. But Dark is going to try and keep things a little bit shaped in his favor as well, using those Zerglings to get a little bit of damage done in the natural expand of Dream. But it's going to be a long time before this Fusion Core does get spotted. One Overlord is going to hang out over top of the natural, but is not going to find its way into the main base anytime soon. So battle cruisers will be on the menu. I'm curious to see if Dream will take the opportunity to go into his Yamato Cannon upgrade, or if it will just be a quick dive into the battle cruiser production. But as it sits right now, 6 Hellions going to be pouring on in. Fortunately, there are Queens and Lings ready to go, so the natural will be spared. But there are 3 drones here at the third base location, and these are going to be a bit more exposed. I think all but one of these Hellions is going to be able to get out. So at a cost for 1 Hellion, taking those 3 drones, not a terrible exchange. More than anything, trying to keep his opponent on the back foot. But all of the rotating in the world is not going to keep Dark from protecting his main mineral lines. So as it sits right now, he will be able to protect that. These Lings are going to be able to sneak into the natural and get some work done, trying to get on top of these Hellions. They are going to get zoned out by SCVs. All things considered, losing a few more of those workers on Dream's side. 8 workers have gone down so far. But all in all, it's buying him the time that he needs to get out this first battle cruiser. And armory being added into the mix as well makes this an interesting composition for Dream to try and play from. He'll have access to those Hellbats. He'll have access to those upgrades. But it's more Zerglings going to be pouring on into the natural base. And this is just a little bit too much to deal with for only 2 Hellions. Now the battlecruiser is going to reveal itself, but look at the cost of these workers that it takes for Dream to hold this down. With that Hellion getting picked up, all of these workers are going to be picked. Every single worker gets killed off, 23 in total. And now Dream has to find some damage over on the other side of the map. These Hellbats are going to come pulling on forward, but there are so many Queens, and they are going to get caught into a choke. But the battlecruiser will make this a more difficult affair. Transfuse is getting used as it sits right now, but right now the ball of Hellbats is just a little bit too strong. These Zerglings can't find a way to engage. Queens getting taken down. Now finally these Hellbats able to get into the mineral line of Dark and making this more and more impossible for him to try and defend. The Queens have been all but eliminated. Only 2 left behind. At the cost of exchange here, Dark is finding himself in a bit of a rough situation. Roaches will be able to help with the Hellbats on the ground, but finding a difficult time dealing with the battlecruiser up in the air without the Queen count where it needs to be. So more workers being killed off. A lot of lost mining time happening as well. There's no mining happening at the natural expand. Only now are units being repopulated in that mineral line. Zerglings continuing to pour across the map, taking some favorable exchanges, all things considered. Hellions getting picked off by Zerglings. That's always a happy place for a Zerg player to try and play from. Battlecruiser of Dream coming in as well to redefend and secure that natural expand. But all in all, the exchange between the two players is a rough one for Dream, losing access to so many of those workers. Dark is going to be able to repopulate his mineral lines rather quick as Dream is forced to sit back and wait here. He is getting his Yamato cannon upgrade researched, so he will have access to that, but these roaches are being relentless. Battlecruiser going to leap across the map once again and try to find a little bit more damage. The queen count has been repopulated though, and it will begin to work away on this battlecruiser. Good transfuses onto the weaker units, making this a bit more difficult for Dream to try and engage on top of. Dark doing a fantastic job of zoning, but that's going to leave his third base open here as these Hellions are going to try and find some damage at the mineral line, but Roach is going to arrive just in time. Yamato cannon has now been finished. 11 kills on this battlecruiser, and it's going to be able to fly out with a little bit of damage done, but not finding the damage that he needs on that third base. Roaches are going to be enough as they are going to try and push across the map. And what is the response here for Dream? It's just continued battlecruiser production. Factories are being thrown down to position himself into the tank count, maybe getting some of that Cyclone Hellion. That would be very, very effective against this Roach army. But Roaches are showing up at the front door right now, and there just isn't that much for Dream to deal with this. Oh, this is so much supply in Roaches. And now Lings are going to be added in as well to deal as much damage as humanly possible. One battlecruiser theoretically will clean this up with a Banshee, but at what cost? All of these units are going to get picked off. 47 workers killed, all in all. Dream unable to stabilize here in game number 2. Looks like he is slowly slipping away, and Dark is going to be able to move out to his fourth base expansion. His creep spread starting to move out a little bit onto the map now that he feels as if he is in full control of this game. A Spire just about to finish up will make this all but a difficult endeavor for Dark to try and maneuver into the later portions of this game. I think at the sheer sight of Corruptors, this game will slowly fall apart here for our blue Terran player. Vehicle weapons being researched right now as another hit squad of Roaches trying to come into the front wall. An engineering bay being added into the mix, but unfortunately that will not last very long, and it's the units of Dark streaming across the map. The third base is going to be completely exposed. More workers are going to fall. Dark able to swarm on top of his opponent. Battle cruisers are effective, but unfortunately they may not be enough to keep him in this game as more Zerglings attacking the mineral line in the natural expand, forcing Dream to try and salvage any possible damage that he truly can. But unfortunately, it just won't be enough, and GG is called. Dark taking the 2-0 victory over his opponent. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking around for the first installment of Replay Rush, brought to you by Alpha X. My name is Rushy. Please feel free to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, Alpha X SC2, and we look forward to seeing you next time.